Now, before we get started, according to 𝘈𝘕𝘰 on the Asian forums, he has been monitoring the changes after the micropatch coming tomorrow, and they added the Beijing Opera 113. So somewhat proving the Beijing Opera 113 is going to be in the auction. Now, we don't know if it's still the premium version with more credit making potential as the first tier 10 premium. That would be a thing. I mean, people will pay like 50,000 gold plus for a premium tier 10. Who knows, but we'll see. And there are no new changes to the Russian tech tree, so no new tier 10 Russian like the Object 279 gold, as we saw with the speculation video, so that's not a thing. But take a look at the forums. I'll post it in the link or description below. But for now, if it's going to be a tier 10 Russian, it's already in the game files with the vehicle models and other stuff. So it's likely going to be one of the Object 268 version number 5, and maybe this, but who knows. So I never done a video for the Object 780, so let's do one. But what the hell is this thing? Well, it is like a very, very short of a heavy tank. There's no hull. Shooting here means nothing. That is scary. But it's a paper tank, mostly developed in the first half of 1960s. Represented a modification of Object 775 rocket tank. But what the hell is an Object 775? Well, it's this thing. Looks like a T100 light tank, but I mean, it's supposed to have a smoothbore firing rockets with a 125mm, but it looks like a medium. Well, that is a medium tank. It is very short. However, this vehicle is supposed to be based off of that. It looks like a heavy tank to me, but it's a little bit taller, but the vehicle's hull has been elevated, so there's only 3 crew members, a gunner, a driver, and a commander. No loader. So everybody's in the turret. There's no driver hatch or driver view slits or viewport or compartment. There's nothing. So it's a very well sloped upper plate and lower plate. Ridiculously well sloped. So it's a paper tank. Fire both shells and rockets with a 125. It's supposed to have a rifle gun launching device, but this is a 130mm. So only a paper tank, but this is a 130, not a 125. But I think Russians are converting to 125s for like T-64s and T-72s in the Cold War era. So nobody uses 130s, but whatever. But it is a tier 10, makes more bonds, or ability to make bonds, XP for crew, and transfer without penalty, but it's not a premium, so let's take a look at the firepower. But 130mm, DPM is average, 2100 or so. Accuracy is not bad for 130, 0.36, and 1.9 seconds of aim time, which is relatively very quick. For a Russian heavy tank gun and a 130, that's faster than a 122 for some of the other tier 10 heavies. 6 degrees of gun depression, 15 elevation. Gun depression is not bad, but elevation is a little bit wonky. It's a small turret, so give or take. Traverse is a little bit slow for a main battle tank-esque of a heavy tank, so only 26. 25 will be kind of the E100's level of turret traverse, around 20. If it's 35, then it's pretty good, like a heavy main battle tank in a sense, but reloads every 13 seconds with a rammer, 12.5 or so with a rammer. It's alright, but higher penetration than average and about 500 alpha. So I don't know how I feel about this gun, so let's take a look at the actual other stats. But it's an AP round, so shell velocity is okay. Gold shell is APCR 305. Shell velocity does not improve much if you're using gold shell. So 305 is alright for APCR, but not the best. Not like 350. That would be ridiculous. But traverse accuracy dispersion with the vehicle's hull and turret is alright. It's not good, it's not bad. It's a heavy tank, but actual turret traverse is pretty decent. Hull traverse is kinda average. 0.08, that's like a pattern, I think. So let's see with the pattern, just for comparison. Patterns, yep. It's the same with the turret traverse accuracy, so swinging the turret and snapshotting with this vehicle is excellent. But the hull traverse dispersion factor while moving, as well as traversing the hull, is garbage. Well, it's average, not really garbage, but average. Like a IS-7 with a 130, not as good as the IS-7. Wow! IS-7 has better turret traverse dispersion factor than a Patton? That's something new, but, well, at least a lot faster aim time than the IS-7's 130. About the same DPM, but you have better penetration. Yeah, a lot better pen. And better shell velocity too. You carry 3 more rounds, but the shell costs more credits, even though they do the same damage. And you're not as fast as a IS-7, less horsepower under the bonnet, as the British would say, but the same horsepower per ton ratio, so it weighs less, technically. But, oh no, firepower wise, it's okay of a gun, but I think it's about the armor of this thing. As you saw with the shortness of the vehicle's height, in a sense, it's a very short vehicle. So we'll see how good the armor is right now, but 2,300 health, average for a main battle tank-esque of a heavy tank. It's not like 2,000 on the Kranwagen, so a little bit more resilient, but repair time for the suspension is average, the same across all the boards. So let's take a look at the armor. 100mm at the front for the upper plate. Very well sloped. About 70 degrees. Holy shit. So that's about 260 effective. At the beak, it's about 260-ish. Lower plate, 62 degrees, 140mm. So let's see if we're using APCR with about 300mm of pen. So gold shell, half the time will go through the upper plate, and about half the time will go through the lower plate. Alright. If you're firing high explosive anti-tank with about 300mm of pen, half the time will go through the lower plate, and only a third of the time going through the upper plate because of the well-slopeddness of the upper plate. So, I mean, if we're using like 350mm pen high explosive anti-tank round with like 150mm of caliber size, more than 2/3 of the time going through the lower plate, and about 60% of the time going through the upper plate. So you still have to jam a very high penetrating high caliber gun in order to penetrate. But maybe it's AP round. Well, if it's AP, it will go through. Normalization would definitely defeat the slopeness of the armor. I don't know. I mean, most of the high tier caliber guns with high penetration are usually about 300mm, 320 for tier 10s, but 2/3 of the time going through a lower plate and 2/3 of the time going through upper plate. Now that's without sloping angled version of the upper plate. If you angle this vehicle, half the time going through, but I don't know, it's very tricky of a heavy tank. So let's go back down to about 250mm of penetration with 120. So without angling, don't shoot the cheeks of the hull. It's 140, slope backwards, equal to 600mm effective. Don't even think about it, but if you angle it with side scraping, oh yeah, it'll get defeated. Only about 220 if it's AP round 2. If it's APCR, yeah, you'll pin half the time. Yeah. I mean, 2/3 of the time. A little bit more penetration. Yeah. So angling with high penetration gun doesn't do much because of the slow backwardness of the vehicle hull design. It's kind of like the sides of a VK55, not VK, VZ55 in a sense. Let's see, VZ55 should have the same design of a, yeah, a little bit slight of cheek on the back end of the hull design, so it's more prominent obviously, but it's 140, so don't side scrape too hard in a sense. Yeah, side armor is only 100 too, so it's not like 150 or 140 like the IS-4. Yeah, don't side scrape too much, but side armor 100mm. There are no side skirts to prevent the high explosive anti-tank rounds, the shape charges. Oh, tracks are 20mm, but side scraping is not the best. For turret front, it's about 300mm, but there are very big prominent ports for the coaxial machine guns. Let's see, turn this off. So that's a coaxial machine gun. That's a coaxial smaller cannon, like a 45mm or something, but it's flatter in a sense. If you have a high penetration gold shell, such as 120mm with 300mm of pin, half the time it'll go through the cheeks. So also you get shot trap into the upper plates or upper part of the hull right here. So shot trapping is a big deal on this vehicle, even though there are parts that are very well armored, like right here. It will bounce the APCR and bounce the high explosive anti-tank rounds. Well, it doesn't bounce the high explosive anti-tank, but they will bounce the APCR and AP round into the upper parts of the hull. So armor-wise, prepare to get gold shell spammed in a sense, but it's tricky. With the sloping and the shape of the vehicle, it's very tricky. So let's go back down to 260mm of pin, but like a Conqueror's gun, trying to shoot the cupolas, yeah, it's very well sloped and armored. The support for the cupolas are 260 rounded. Don't even think about it. Alright. Same goes with the driver cupola, in a sense, 260 rounded with a periscope in the front. Commander cupola is only 100, so that's the main cupola you want to shoot at. You could try for the hatch on the gunner, but that's a small target. That should be the gunner. That should be the commander. But rest of the armor is negligible. 100 for the back of the bristle rack, supporting the ammo rack and other stuff, or the mechanism for the autoloader, but only 80 rounded. Don't get shot here. That will likely damage the ammo rack or the gun. And engine deck, obviously, only 100. So point the front towards the enemy as best as you possibly can. So I don't know how good I feel about the armor. I mean, when you take a look at the Object 279 early or the 726, it's either gold shell or nothing. So as you can see, it's rounded at the front. It's about 290 gold shell. Conqueror's gun will not pin, obviously. Yeah, 15% chance to pin. If you increase that to about 300mm, 2/3 of the time will pin. You have to use AP rounds at higher caliber to defeat the slopiness of this vehicle. High explosive anti-tank with about 155, 150. Half the time it will pin, surprisingly. So gold shell sometimes will pin, sometimes won't. There is no lower plate. The best you can hope for is the commander cupola or the gunner cupola, one of which, but that's the only weak spot on this vehicle. Don't shoot the cheeks, doesn't help. Don't shoot the cheeks of the turret, doesn't help. Oh no, I mean, it's no Object 279 early. Armor is debatable. quote unquote, it is very well sloped. Very well sloped. But it's not as thick as you would like. It's only 100mm. So, I don't know. Up for debate. But let's take a look at the other stats. So, horsepower per turn ratio is about the same as the IS-7. Top speed of 50. Reverse of 15. Hull traverse is not bad. About 32, 31 with vents and other stuff. But terrain resistance is a little bit better than average. And compare this to IS-7 again. Or the Object 277. Let's compare with 277. Well, about the same horsepower as a 277, but not as fast of a top speed. Better aim time. About the same penetration, same alpha. Not as much DPM. And worse tank moving and tank traverse dispersion factors. You don't carry as much ammo, and while terrain resistance is about the same, but you do have a little bit more gun depression. And the same health-ish, 100 more. So, I don't know. It's like a 277 with a little bit better armor. Well, not for the turret. The turret is pretty good on the 277. This thing has a cupola weak spot. Alright. Concealment, heavy tank, nothing to talk about. View range, 400. Radio, standard. So, how much would I rate this thing? Well, I don't know. I mean, DPM is lacking in a okay-ish way. I mean, it's not that bad, but it's like a mouse's DPM compared to a WZ-111-5A's DPM. So you're lacking like one shell of alpha for the DPM aspect. So don't trade shots. Armor is conditional in a sense. Sometimes you'll bounce if you angle it properly and the opponent, rushes the shot or panics. But I mean, compare this to a 277. The best you could do is aim time. The rest of the stats are average-ish. Also, you don't get a loader spot. Why? Because you only have 3 men in the turret, and there's no loader. So you cannot train safe stowage or intuition perk, which are pretty essential for the ranked battle mode meta. But then again, you cannot use this vehicle in ranked. You can use it only in pubs. So still, safe stowage for a Russian tank is pretty much essential. And intuition is good to have for a long reload of a gun. But overall, I would probably give this thing a maybe 7 out of 10. Just for the uniqueness factor and the rarity. People will panic and look at the vehicle's hull design and say, oh, holy crap, that's well sloped, like a STRV S tank. And you're not going to pin this thing, and they just automatically switch to gold shell. And yeah, that's not fun. Everybody switches to gold. But yeah, 7 out of 10. It's conditional armor, as you saw. And it's not that good in terms of DPM. So high penetration gun, high caliber guns will defeat this armor. Shooting the 155 from a T110 E3 or E4 with about 300mm of pin, yeah, you'll go through the upper plate, no question. Without gold shell, you'll go through the upper plate. 80% of the time, 85% of the time. 75% for the lower plate, unless it rolls low. But if you're using the gold shell, which has about 350mm of pin, the same, going through the upper plate and going through the lower plate. But you'll likely jam one into the coaxial machine gun ports or the cannon ports. Oh, yeah. I mean, armor is conditional, not as effective as the 279 early. Also, the gun access port is only 50mm, so high caliber guns with vehicles that are taller than this thing will jam one into the gun access port, similar to the IS-3 or IS-4. Actually, on the IS-3 mostly, but yeah, overmatch such as the E100's gun will overmatch because the E100 is a pretty tall tank and with a big caliber gun. yeah, he'll jam one into your gun compartment, killing your commander as well as loader, because he's also the loader, and damage your gun. So 7 out of 10 for the uniqueness and the rarity factor, but overall I still think obviously Object 279 is better. Compare this to a 260. 260 has, let's see, it's not as fast as a 260. Nowhere near as fast as a 260. But yeah, no. Yeah, no. It has about 20 horsepower per ton ratio for the 260. Nope, it has 60 kilometers per hour top speed, but does have better terrain resistance. Not as fast shell velocity, but better aim time, better alpha, obviously. Not as much DPM, as well as traverse dispersion factors, shell velocity, ammo count. 260 does have a weak spot for the turret, but it's a very small weak spot. Where's my 260? That's a weak spot right there. The commander cupola. So preview, armor, collision. That's a weak spot. It's only 130, so backwards at about 200 millimeters effective. 204, 215, but it's more a medium tank for this thing. So obviously the hull is not as good as the 780, but I don't know. It does have space armor for the hull, and side scraping is not as bad with the Object 260 as with the 780, but 7 out of 10. So there you go, folks. Now, should you buy this thing with gold or free XP? I mean, it's a one in a lifetime, or not really, but it's a very rare opportunity to get one, and there is the rareness factor of people not having the experience of fighting with this thing. Sometimes they panic, they don't know what the hell they're doing, and make mistakes with the shots. So that's all you could hope for. But once they get used to it, if they do some research, obviously shoot the commander cupola, shoot the sides if you're side scraping, but 7 out of 10. It's not bad, mostly because of the rare factor. Now on the Chinese server, there are talks that this thing will be on the auction. Return of the Waffentrigger off E100. Now, back then, it was already being sold by a agency supporting wargaming. So on the Chinese server, they have a third publishing company supporting World of Tanks called Concealment, whatever the hell that company is, and they will sell like this thing, sell the Object 279 early for money, obviously, but I think they took away that aspect. But it's a premium tier 10. Still only has the nerfed 5-round clip, not the 6 rounds. So back then, this thing has 6 rounds. You will clip out a mouse in for a 1 minute reload of the cold drum. You'll clip out a mouse in 10 seconds with gold shell. No problem. But it has the worst camo of everything. 0.4. It's a 6 rating out of like 1,000. But yeah, we're not seeing the return of the Waffentrigger. It's god damn it. This was my first tier 10. No question. My second tier 10 was the FE4202, but that got changed to the Action X Centurion long time ago. But thank you for watching this video. So thank you guys for watching. Well, we'll see what happens with the auction. So it might be cool to see something extravagant, but I doubt it. So gold, Type 59, and 𝘕𝘠𝘠𝘕, whatever you pronounce it, WZ511, 1115A, Object 268 version number 5, and somebody are mentioning the AMBT for the tier 8s. So don't know how they got that, but alright, we already covered it, so that's a plus. What the hell is the AMBT? AMBT medium tank. Jeez. We covered it. I know we covered it. Alright, fine. If you have to make me do this, we'll make me do this. AMBT, Tier 8, American, medium tank. There it is. It's not added to the tech tree, obviously. Modded tech tree, but how much did I give this thing? Like a 6 out of 10? 5 out of 10? 3-round auto-loading clip. Below average DPM, but it's like a mini Conqueror's turret on a CS63. I already mentioned that, but whatevs. But there you go, folks. We'll see what happens. So thank you guys for watching again. And I'll catch you guys next time. I still have a little lisp from the toothache. It's still a little bit lispy, but got through with this video. But I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
ねもしも全て投げ捨てられ